ברוכים הבאים, ערב טוב. Today we're going to touch a light subject. No, death was just a prelude. I mean, that's extra light. It doesn't exist, so we can move on to serious business. Today we're going to touch the concepts of Messiah versus Messianic era. And as we usually do, I was just making the point that I was missing my bouquet of flowers. There you go. Now I feel really alone. There. Is
that the Messiah or the Messianic era?
The Messianic era, of course. אז את תלכי לעשות לנו את הכיף? בסדר, תודה. And before we start touching the actual subject matter, I would like to give you a brief context about the way the relationship between God and man and mankind, not male, but mankind, is understood in Jewish discourse. And if we had to kind of encapsulate it in three major terms, I would borrow from Franz Rosenzweig's Star of Redemption, and I will use the three terms that he uses there. The first one is creation, the second one is revelation, and the third one is redemption. You know what? We'll do this. I guess that there are some people who want to write down, right? And you don't have any. So let's start. We'll bring more copies in a few minutes, but you can start writing on this if you like. These are the sources for today's class. Now let us understand, when we talk about creation, and this is just a free association. When we talk about creation, what do you get from that? What do you mean when we say creation? The creation of the world, right? The beginning. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'haaretz. When we talk about revelation, what are we talking about? Har Sinai, usually understood revelation with an uppercase R. And when we're talking about redemption, what are we talking about?
Biat HaMashiach.
Usually people talk about Biat HaMashiach and so on and so forth, right? So we have the creation of the world, we have Matan Torah, the giving of Torah at Sinai, and we talk about Biat HaMashiach, the arrival of the Messiah. We have more copies in a minute. Let us unpack that a little bit before we move on, because obviously what you just said is a very, very preliminary, rudimentary level of understanding creation, revelation, and redemption. First of all, when we talk about creation, we talk about two levels of understanding creation. The first one, which is more basic, and you alluded to that, is the creation of the world. As we understand it, the world was created. And since that moment, we start reading what happened in the world, right? And then into this creation, the world of revelation is infused at a certain point, at a certain juncture in history. So there is some sort of a linear evolution from creation to revelation. However, creation can be understood in another way. If you remember, last week I told you that the first verse of the Torah should not only be read on the simple level of, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. You remember that? But I also told you we should also, in order to understand the concepts that I was trying to introduce last week, understand that the world, or that if we want to understand creation, is that the world is God in creation. That it's not that in the beginning God created the world. In other words, that there is no real separation between the creator and the created, but rather that the world is a divinity in creation. Did you understand the difference?
No.
So I'll explain. It's not as if I'm drawing a painting and you say, okay, so obviously there's something of you in that painting and blah, 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 and we can have a whole philosophical discourse about what's the distinction between the author and what the author wrote, or what the author, or what I just did here. In other words, that there's a separation between me as a creator and the painting is a created. Imagine that now I take myself as a potential, not like me, right? And I actually appear to you in form of the painting. So now obviously there's no, I am the painting, right? In other words, the world is God in creation. Did you follow what I just said? Yes, no? Okay. Now, if the world is part of creation, in other words, the world is God in creation, and mankind is part of the created world, ergo,
We're part of God.
mankind is part of God. And therefore mankind has all the intrinsic, inherent property to discover God. Did you follow so far? Don't be shy. Yes, no? Shall I take a step back again?
Why does that follow? Why not man? If man is part of God, then man has all of those characteristics, so man is God-like.
Yeah, a small God. Olam katan, a small world, a small God. Va'achsiro, as the book says, va'achsiro me'at me'elohim. Man is understood as created B'Tselem Elohim. B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God in the simple sense. But what I'm trying to show you here is that from this rendition of creation, mankind is an inherent component of divinity. And as such, has all the properties already inherent to man to understand divinity. In that respect, and this is where I'm trying to get you, I just made a distinction between creation and revelation, right? Mm-hmm. From the second model of the world is God in creation and mankind is part of that created world, the act of creation according to that model is already a revelation of God. Did you follow? Mm-hmm. Again.
So art and science are a revelation of God.
Well, there's nothing that is not. Look, guys, when we're talking about creation, revelation, and redemption, we talk about one model where we talk about the creation of the world. Revelation is Sinai, and redemption is the Messiah, Biat HaMashiach. This is one model that usually people understand: creation, revelation, and redemption. I'm talking about a second model now. And we have to understand the distinction between them. Otherwise, we cannot understand the evolution of the discussion between Messiah and Messianic era. The second model comes and says that creation is in and of itself a revelation of divinity. You follow what I'm saying? God appearing in the existing realm, speaking of last week, from the being to the existing. In other words, creation equals revelation itself. God is revealed through the act of creation. Yes?
Creation is revelation.
Hmm?
Creation is revelation.
Creation is revelation. And then, when we talk about revelation here, is no longer a revelation of God, is a revelation of God's desire, a revelation of God's charge, a revelation of what does God want from us, and so on and so forth. In other words, here we're talking already about what does God want from us as part of God above. It's a revealed property that we are part of, right? We are part of God. What would you say about redemption in this model?
Realizing what our part is.
Think about what is the one thing that is intrinsic to each one of those two. Here and here, mankind is an inherent part of the process. Mm-hmm. You follow? Mm-hmm. If mankind is an inherent part of the process, mankind should be an inherent part of the redemptive process as well. So we should ask ourselves, what does that mean? Mankind leads. Mankind leads the way. This is the context for our entire discussions today. Did you follow what I just said about these two models?
Yes.
Does that add up to Tikkun Olam?
Yeah.
Well, it has ramifications about everything.
Where did this model come from?
Yeah,
The second model.
I'll show you right there. In the same text of the same prophet, one verse after the other, the two models that are completely far away from one another within the same prophet. I'll show you.
It's going to be something.
So let me ask you, first of all, a very, very simple question.
Excuse me, could you link up the last one again?
This one?
Messiah, the
Man
revelation.
leads.
Redemption.
Redemption of the second model?
Yes.
All I said so far is that in the second model, you have mankind as an inherent or an intrinsic component to both levels. Which means that mankind has to be intrinsic to the third level. I haven't told you yet what it is. I'm just saying that it is mankind that leads this model rather than, I'm not telling you what this is, we'll just call him a Messiah, and now we can start the course, the session. Okay? So let me ask you, what, not who, what is a Messiah? Mashiach, what is it? By the way, it's not a trick question. No, really, it's not a trick question. What is the word Mashiach? What does it mean? It appears in the Bible. What does it mean?
Savior of mankind.
No.
The character.
Don't be, guys, it's not a trick question. What does the word Mashiach mean? Literally, what does it mean?
Anointed.
Anointed, right? Anointed. By what?
God.
Not by whom? By what? Anointed by what?
Oil?
Oil. Do you know the word anointment? Mishcha? When you put mishcha on your head, if you have something, you put mishcha on, right? What is limshoach? To anoint. Right? What do you anoint in the Bible? Shemen. If you ever read Kinat David, the wailing song of David over Shaul and Yonatan, he calls Shaul Mashiach Bashamen. He was anointed with oil. Okay? Now let me ask you, what do you think is the reason for that kind of a custom? Why to anoint someone with oil as part of what?
Purity.
Purity, albeit I could tell you that within Jewish customs, definitely as they had translated also later to Christianity, it is usually water that associates with purity. But okay, that could be definitely a possibility. What else? Think about the properties of oil. And here you have a clue with my delinquent artistic talent. When you anoint someone with oil, what happens to them? What does oil do?
It remains there.
It remains there, that's for sure. What else happens? Think about it, literally. Think about it. You put it's greasy.
Makes you soft and shiny.
Absorb.
Seeps into absorb. Very nice. What else?
Makes you soft and shiny. It's
Makes you
radiate.
soft. Okay, soft. But the second word is more interesting to me.
Me too.
Shiny.
Yes.
It reflects. Oil has reflective properties. If you it shines. It reflects, right? It reflects. Now think about the notion here, and I want to take you here to the ancient world, but also to the conceptual realm of those in the biblical narrative who were appointed as the people or the intermediaries between God and mankind. And I wrote men and women to say mankind in its entirety. When you have now the Mashiach, whose head is anointed with oil, his head points upwards. He is now reflecting, literally.
Light.
He reflects the light that comes from above. He is anointed by divinity. The fact that the prophet anoints him is just a symbolic act. What happens here, he anoints him, so this man now, his head reflects the divine will.
But the kings were anointed.
Kings were anointed, and in a minute
Well,
we'll
was
see about...
anointed.
No, we'll see in a minute. It doesn't have to be an anointment. Here, king is anointed in order to reflect that kind of level, and from this point on, he now rules over mankind. Okay, so he negotiates the vertical level with the horizontal level.
But
The
it's not the Mashiach.
No, he's a Mashiach. Shaul was a Mashiach. Shaul is called Mashiach. Melech Mashiach. Guys, forget now about what you think you know about the term. I'm asking you now about the origin of the term. The origin of the term is a king who was anointed as a king in ancient Israel. He's now reflecting God, and he's now taking this authority that was bestowed upon him with this act of anointment, and he's now working on the horizontal level. I'll give you another example. The Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Anybody remembers the laws pertaining to the high priest's garment? It's one of the more boring parashot, so probably most people don't remember them.
Blue and
So he has, the Kohen Gadol
red.
has
A vest.
the vest, right?
Yeah.
מצוין.
Yes. Okay.
The Kohen Gadol has the vest that has the Avnei Choshen,
Yep.
they're called.
Mhm.
Each stone represents
Tribe.
tribe. Very, very nice. Now, where are they located?
On the breasts.
That's it? You see?
Close to the heart.
Huh? Where?
Close to the heart.
Close to the heart, 12 of them. But there's another location
Shoulder.
that for some reason most people don't know.
The shoulders.
Very nice. The Kohen Gadol has 12 here, 6 here, and 6 here.
The same stone?
Same stones. Why? These here are seen by man. These here are seen by God. Again, exactly the same model. A negotiator of divinity with mankind. The vertical model with the horizontal. This way, he is able to represent God's will on earth. Okay? Okay? The same thing is a prophet. And by the way, if we're talking about the Kohen, does anybody know today who wears the exact same garment as the Kohen Gadol?
Pope.
No. Okay, it was a misleading question. What, not who, what wears the same garment as the Kohen Gadol?
Funny that soldiers have
The dargot here?
dargot,
Yeah, well, they should have the dargot here as well.
Yeah.
But any idea? Guys, next time you're in a synagogue, witness opening of the ark and see what the Torah wears.
Oh, of course.
The Torah wears the garment of the Kohen Gadol. It has the belt, it has the crowns, it has everything. All right? So the Kohen Gadol now, and by the way, it's a whole other lecture. Why was the Kohen Gadol transferred into the Torah? But that's the movement from the temple era after the destruction to the rabbinic era, so that's a different lecture. But what I want you to remember now is that these people who understood or are appointed as kings, prophets, Kohanim, all those who negotiate the world of God with the world of men, were seen as negotiating the vertical with the horizontal. The king, as a Mashiach, was no different. Was no different. He was seen, and unfortunately it's always a he, just as it is with the Kohen Gadol. But luckily for us, it's not always like that with prophets. We also had 4 female prophetesses, right? But they are the negotiators of God and man. So, first of all, it is important to remember that the Mashiach is first, foremost, and ultimately, and that's very important to remember, a human being. And never transcends.
Just because he was a human being here, he will always be a human being?
He is perceived as a human being. The Mashiach, I'm talking about the origin of the term. Forget about, you're running very, very fast.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You say the Mashiach, you said that's Hey Yidiyah, but you're saying that a lot of people are Mashiachs.
Not a lot. I mean, Elisha Nimshechu, the kings, were Mashiach. They were.
So it's not the Mashiach.
Wait, the Mashiach is a completely different story, which we'll get to. Okay? What I want is, first of all, to understand is the concept of kingship and the idea of a king subject to God and therefore under the rule of God at every given moment. Don't forget that the anointment of the king was also a message to the king. You are under supervision all the time. I see you. Your actions reflect on me. So make sure you know what you do. It's a very interesting symbolic act. Okay? A human being.
By the way, was this a practice in other ancient civilizations at the same time?
Very, very good question. We definitely know that priests from ancient civilizations such as ancient Egypt and others used to be anointed. Absolutely used. But we don't necessarily know if it was for that specific reason. But there are a lot of parallels between ancient Hebrew and Judaic customs and the world from which they came. By the way, circumcision is one of them, if you already asked. In the ancient world, one of the ways to get sovereignty over another nation, and by the way, in some tribes, from what I understand, it's even practiced today in some remote areas of South America, was to cut the foreskin of your victim in war and either eat it or wear it as a trophy on a necklace. And by doing that, you actually said that you are absorbing the manhood of your opponent, or your befallen opponent, and now you add his manhood to your